Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Yeah, it's politics down the line. You know that by now we're looking at something like 82 days to the election, the presidential election. And so here we are. Now, you recall that very, very recently, the president had sort of, butted into the conversation, so to speak, and said that, you know what, all these ruffians, people who are not going to behave themselves as regards election, that the security forces should take hold of the situation. And he really, gave them marching orders, as it were, that it's not going to be like before. You recall that the president has said that one of the legacies that he is determined to be leaving will be that of a free, fair, and generally acceptable election. Well, our guest this morning, friend of the House, actually a lot of the people that come in here are friends of the House, quite a lot of them. I'm talking about Mike Igini. Mr. Igini is the immediate past Resident Commissioner for Akwa Ibom State. A fine morning to you, Mike.
Yeah, good morning, Yori. Thanks for having me this morning.
Indeed. Now, I just described you as the immediate past INEC Resident Commissioner. It looks to me like that is out of your chambers. What's going on here?
Well, that is true. You are very correct. I have spent 10 years in the service of the fatherland in the Independent National Electoral Commission. And I'm back to my permanent office where I was before I went on a temporary service to the nation, the INEC, for 10 years. So Indeed. You are very correct. Indeed. I was the immediate past rec of Akwa Ibom State, having served in several states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Excellent. But nevertheless, you still are very, very closely concerned with all things electoral matters and election, especially a free and fair election in the country, whether in INEC or out of INEC.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I am a stakeholder. At the moment, what I'm dealing with is full activation of the Office of the Citizens. And I call on all Nigerians to do the same, particularly given the fact that having served for 10 years, from the time I disengaged, sometimes around August, I was clear to Nigerian people that my votary is for Nigeria, and that I was going to use the 10 years of experience there, that all that we contributed to the electoral process, the ABC that culminated eventually in the 2022 Electoral Act, that I'm going to use that knowledge to help educate Nigerians as well on the process and procedure, that now that power has been taken back to the people outside the political class, it is now very clear that the respect for the people will now be the beginning of responsible leadership in our country. Okay. And so my partnership, and not partisanship, partnership with all Nigerians is to educate Nigerians as we go to 2023 election, which is just 82 days away.
All right. Just before we launch into the conversation proper, let's play this report that went out. That was when INEC met with editors, part of disseminating information. Let's just take up that package and we'll come back to studio.
It is 84 days to the general election, and INEC leadership meets with line editors on the strategic roles they play in the upcoming election.
Help our youth the truth to know.
Help our youth the truth to know.
In love and honesty to grow.
In love and honesty to grow.
In a speech, the Resident Electoral Commissioner Lagos State says the meeting affords journalists the opportunity to learn more about the process of electioneering and developing the trends.
As the 2023 general election is around the corner, that is 84 days away to be precise, the need for an interactive meeting with the media, such as this, cannot be overemphasized. There is no gainsaying the fact that there is a very strong relationship between media performance and conduct of vibrancy of politics and political activities in a democracy.
The National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, appeals to line editors to help control the ugly and trend of fake news.
The Commission will continue to partner with the media not only as a key stakeholder in the electoral process, but also as a viable tool for combating misinformation, fake news, and malicious falsehood.
Because if we have a runoff in presidential election, I know that is quite capital intensive.
About the sophistication of your database so that it will be compromised.
While answering the questions from journalists, the chairman of the commission says Beaver's technology has helped electoral body in conducting a free and fair election.
But all I want to assure you is our determination as a commission to do what is right. And we have demonstrated this, not only in terms of the innovations we have introduced, but the practical conduct of elections in the country. And our hope and commitment and determination is that the 2023 general elections will not be different from some of the most recent elections we have conducted in terms of credibility and acceptability. That's the only thing that we derive joy from.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has, in the last 22 years of Nigeria's democracy, continued to improve on the process. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Lagos.
Okay, now that meeting of INEC and editors, was prepared. It happened very, very recently. Now, the unending attack on INEC infrastructure, INEC buildings, we had actually prepared for this topic before the news that came in yesterday that continuing the attacks on INEC buildings in Imo State, there was, an incident. The police have confirmed that that is indeed the case. So we'll be talking about this whole issue of people attacking INEC facilities as if that is going to, in some way, dabaru the elections. Apparently, from what we've been hearing, not so. Now, you will recall, I was mentioning the other time that the president has sounded a cautionary note to politicians and their supporters. The National Security Advisor has backed this up. Seemingly tough action awaits anybody who shall we say, misbehaves in any aspect of the whole electoral process. Now, if you're just joining us, our guest is Mr. Mike Igini, the immediate past Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa Ibom State. Now, Mike, you as I was saying, you saw INEC continues in its efforts to engage the people, that's what it was doing when it was engaging the press. I wonder what you thought about the president's notice to politicians and their supporters to, quite frankly, behave themselves. And this was backed up subsequently by the National Security Advisor.
Thank you, Yori. The president is spot on the charges he has continued to give as a commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Interestingly, I was privileged to be one of those who delivered two different subjects bordering on the 2023 elections at the Owerri Police Conference for Senior Police Officers, of the IGP lecture that took place in that state and was delivered by the president. The president could not have said more than what he did on that day, and I was very impressed. Obviously, leveraging or encouraging the current leadership of the IGP to replicate what he had continued to do since the Anambra election, Ekiti election, Ondo election, and the last governorship election of Osun State, where the kind of policing that we witnessed was quite different from what we used to see before. It was quite commendable. And I think on the basis of that, which is the reason why some of us for the first time have to publicly make commendation to the current leadership of the police, is that when we do so with a view to showing that when you acknowledge the conduct professional of a group, you are basically reinforcing the kind of behavior you want to see again. It's quite interesting that the president had to say this, and I must make this on record, that around the world, no set of elites will finish the project of any country, that is nation building. In fact, the work of nation building has no hope of final completion by any set of either elected or appointed elite. Therefore, the responsibility of every set of leaders, elected or appointed, is to make their own contribution. It's in this regard that my very strong advice, leveraging on what the president has said, is to inform, to remind all of us that around the world, no matter what a set of elected leaders or appointed may have achieved or not able to achieve, what is most taken seriously that will be recorded in history in a democracy is that at the end of the tenure of any regime, was that regime able to create an enabling environment that will lead to the conduct of a credible election that will bring in new set of leaders?
Mm-hmm.
That is what we are going to be remembered with. And that's why President Obasanjo is today celebrated and was allowed to come back for second time as a civilian, because in 1979, he, though being part of the military that usurped democratic apparatus, the fact that he conducted election and handed over peacefully, that has been in record for him and celebrated all over the world. And that's why we will come back second time. Second, that Jonathan today, who is being celebrated around the world, nobody will talk about what the previous leaders have done or failed to do. The fact that President Jonathan demonstrated something that had never happened in our country, being the first in the history of this country as a civilian to conduct election that led to what we call a progression, a progress in terms of one party, a ruling party losing the election and handing over to another democratic government that had put his name in gold. And that is why today he's being celebrated around the world. More so, under his regime, so many things happened. The use of the corridor, the comparison of the biometric register, all of these things happened, changes in the electoral amendment in the Electoral Act, Section 160, Section 52, that previously prohibited the use of electronic media, which has been under United, it was repealed. Section 160 that said that even INEC, with respect to its power to organize itself to conduct election, shall not be subject to the direction and control of a president, was under United.
Yeah.
Similarly,
Mike, I beg your pardon. Mike, you see, especially because of that sentence, I wanted to ask you, because you have experience as you're the immediate past, rec in Akwa Ibom.
Yeah.
That aspect of INEC's name, the first letter, Independent National Electoral Commission, is INEC really independent?
Thank you, Iyori. I think that this question that you have asked is being asked every day on account of the statements that have been made by the president at different fora, both in Nigeria here and outside the country, with respect to the fact that he wants to leave behind a legacy of credible election. I want Nigerians, and of course I've had to explain to some of our colleagues, EMB around the world, that when your president say that he will leave behind, he will conduct election and all that, I said, no, you must take this profound statement of the president from a context. The INEC remains an independent election management body. The duty of the president, like the Jonathan, which I was now driven down without driving down to that of the president, and your question was very, very timely, is the fact that the job of the president is to create an enabling environment. And that is what the president meant. It is not that he's in control, INEC is taking direction or is giving directive to INEC. Not at all. I worked in the system, and I recall that when there was an attempt by members of his own party that Igini must be removed from office, the president at a meeting attended, and one or two who was at that meeting told me that, look, go and do your work. In fact, a serving minister, still serving, told me that do your work. The president, Buhari, told point blank those who were pushing for that that his job was not to remove a wreck. Now, the point being made here is that when the president keeps saying that, look, he will leave behind legacy, what it meant is clearly that he will create the enabling environment.
Okay.
And I want to quote the president clearly in this respect so that he's not taken out of context. But my advice to the speechwriter of the president is that that part of it should be well redrafted in subsequent conversation with Nigerians and international community so that impression wrongly is not given that he direct INEC, which is not true. Now, at the Owerri conference, Iyori, so that I close on this point as a background to the issues we are going to look at, is that the president, as I said, leveraging on the level of success, the kind of exceptional policing that we witnessed in the election that I have just mentioned previously. The president at the Owerri told charge, in fact, the language was that I charge you or to continue to project a police force that will remain apolitical, firm, and loyal to democratic values in the countdown to the 23 election. It is by so doing that the police can be defined not just as true friends of the Nigerian people, but according to the president, but as a dependable and trustworthy partner in the drive to advance our democratic journey. What a profound statement. If I didn't end at that, I mean, I was so enthused by those statements as a commander-in-chief, all right? And I'll provide a rider to that. And we ended by saying that, look, I take the Inspector General of Police, I therefore charge Inspector General of Police to sustain the leadership standard, referring obviously to this set of elections that he showed exceptional policing, that will guarantee a level playing field and secure public space for citizens to freely exercise their franchise and for the outcome of the election to be a true reflection of the people's choices. Is ended by saying, I so offer my full assistance or support and encouragement in this direction. That is why all I require of the president now is a follow-up. There must be a follow-up because the attacks on INEC offices has continued unabated.
Indeed. Even we were just hearing about what happened in Imo State, I believe just yesterday. The police have confirmed that there indeed was an attack. But apart from all of that, INEC, quite frankly, INEC is busy juggling many problems, maybe not just one. For instance, talking about this, the continued attack on INEC's offices, it has implications. Things like PVCs that were destroyed, ballot boxes, essential equipment such as electricity generating, equipment, all of those being attacked. INEC has said that it doesn't matter what happens, it is going to deliver. But surely this is making the job a bit more difficult, maybe a lot more difficult than it would have been otherwise. INEC is still going to pull through, you think?
Iyori, let me tell you, no matter what non-constitutional, extra-constitutional, or non-legitimized actors try to do to undermine the progress of our country, as a people, as a nation, we must stand tall and mighty in defense of our values. The various attacks across the country are clearly attack on democracy. And we cannot be seen to behave as if we are in autarky or best reaction by nations to Philistines' characters who try to attack our values, as you could see going on in the US. Look, INEC innovations is what is actually further fueling the panic in the land today. And that's why you see some of this going on. But I tell you solemnly that who would have thought that in 2015, before the 2015 election, that the country will be able to pull through, given the ravaging activities of Boko Haram in some parts of the country. But we were able to pull through and conducted the election. Who would have believed that INEC could conduct election in Anambra State, given the ravaging on gunmen, on non-gunmen that have turned that place into a different place completely, but we're able to pull through. Well, let us not overstretch our luck, but I think that this is where the states wants to show that it actually has absolute monopoly of the instrument of violence. We don't want our country to be categorized among the states that are defined as failed states, because some of the indices of a failed state are somewhat manifesting. I know that we have the capacity to deal with some of these problems. So my charge, leveraging on what the president has said and calling on the president himself to ensure that all the security agencies, both actionable and non-actionable sector, almost stand tall right now to deal with the problem, because I am not aware, I don't know of any country where, for instance, the commander-in-chief will have to be moved from one state to the other to implement security challenges, not at all personally. It is the responsibility of those charged. And that's why I'm also encouraged, not just being encouraged, not just the word alone, that the National Security Advisor made a very strong statement. What we want to see is action, because as we speak today, the 2022 Electoral Act, INEC innovations and procedures that have been developed will ensure that all previous misfortune, political misfortune, can no longer be a misfortune of Nigerian people anymore.
Okay.
That is why there's even panic in the land. Don't forget that, as I've said before, people should go and study the Electoral Act, particularly INEC processes and procedure. Do you know that even INEC as a body, you just reported, INEC have been having series of training going on, having meetings, looking at the Electoral Act, looking at the procedure on how to deliver. Regrettably, despite all the innovations that have happened in INEC, these have not been complemented by change of behavior on the part of the political class, who are indeed responsible for the 95% of the problem we have. Why is it that when we are going to election, it's as if we are going to war?
Let me ask you, Mike. I beg your pardon. Let me ask you this, Mike. Sorry, Mike. Let me ask you this. In view of these incessant, unyielding, unending attacks on INEC and especially its facilities, the wherewithal with which it can do the excellent job that it is clearly capable of, I wanted to ask that, look, touching this building here, touching that generator there, can people still be accredited without PVCs, given that the BVAS, the biometric thing, voters accreditation system, actually has a soft copy register? I was just sort of exploring. Are there, in spite of whatever people do to, distort or disturb the process, can INEC still move ahead?
Iyori, let me inform. Our electoral process is governed by law, both statutory and procedural law. Under the current section 47 of the Acts, the law says that for any individual to be admitted, first is admission to the polling arena, you must have your permanent voter's card. And that law has not changed.
Okay.
Even though section 49 has been repealed, under section 47, it has now again reenacted. And that was why INEC in 2015 came up with the slogan, no PVC, no voting. Remember, at that time, there was push by some Philistines that we should use TVC, temporary voters card, not our TVC television. Temporary voters card, that's what we were calling for at that time. We said by the designation temporary, it was meant temporary. Now that you have permanent, it's now permanent. Therefore, no PVC, no voting. So under the current regime, there is no room for that. Look, let me tell you one of the dangers and why, and we know why they are pushing for that. The two statutory provisions for rigging in Nigeria, INEC has blocked almost all the loopholes known to us for the period we've been in the system. This is the problem we have now. Now, the point is that Section 49 of the previous act was a statutory provision that was used to buy PVC so that people can vote on their behalf. Section 53, now repealed. We're now talking about Section 51. It now talk about numbers of accredited persons, no longer number of registered voters. Now, Yori, when you ask a voter to come to the polling unit because he said that his name is there, that is a recipe for violence, for chaos. Politicians are already planning that, look, the only way you are going to bring some talks, some individuals to come there, they will now begin to insist that their names are on the beavers. And of course, you are also indirectly also giving another discretionary power to a presiding officer who, even when such thing, even when person's name is there, he could also say that the person's name is not there. We must not go to that arena at all.
Okay.
That is why we must follow the law. Because otherwise, they are going to cause confusion. You know the reason why they want to do that? You know, the polling unit now, Iori, is now the center of universe. That is where elections are now won and lost in Nigeria. No longer at the work election center, local government, state, and all the levels. We have moved away from that. This is the reason why they are now trying to introduce indirect way to say, hey, once your name is after all, you have the soft copy. Yes, I mean, the lawmaker knew that INEC will have a soft copy before they made that statutory provision. So your admission, you see, if you want to participate in the ceremony of exchange of garment, you must wear a garment. Your garment is your PVC.
Okay, welcome back. And Mike Igini, immediate past Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, is our guest. He has this passion for elections, whether in or out of INEC, and so there he is in his chambers. He said, Aluta continua. He's forever going to be interested in this. So, Mike, I wanted to ask you that, look, there's some litigations. INEC has always said that it will follow scrupulously whatever the court says as a law-abiding organization. Now, there are two different appeal court judgments. In short, litigations, could they possibly be a form of a disturbance to INEC? Because I'm asking this against the backdrop of less than 3 months now, in fact, 82 days odd to the election. Litigations regarding INEC's monitoring of primaries. Are we out of the woods in that regard yet?
Respect to that. But that's not a problem to INEC. Only to the extent that for the entire Nigerian people, this is part of regression in our democracy. That we are gradually got to a point where candidates that will stand for elections are not known before the day of election. Most of the cases are still at the level of the Court of First Instance. Meanwhile, most of these cases will get up to Supreme Court. This is where we are. It's a shame to the political class that after 23 years, the first and primary duty of a political party in a democracy is presenting candidates for election. This has remained a problem. Despite the innovation contained in the Electoral Act, this is what we have today. It's a disgrace to the political class that we are going to 2023 election, particularly with respect to senatorial candidature, governorship candidature, State House of Assembly, and Federal House. Most of the candidates will not be known before that election. It's a shame to the political class.
It is indeed worrisome. One moment, Mike. Let me bring on our first caller this morning, Emmanuel in Otukpo. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
I greet Mike Igini. He's doing a very good job. We have gone far in democratic governance, and we cannot afford to go back to Egypt. After 23 years, we've done far in it, and though we have not really gotten to where we should be, but we have tried. And INEC is trying. I keep saying it. So the solution to this incessant attack on INEC facilities across the country is for the president, who is interested in giving us a free, fair, and credible election, to leave a legacy behind. It's for him to create a committee where he will be the chairman and involve all the governors as members, the security chiefs as members, IG of police, and then the chief attorney general of the federation and the national security advisor, the chief justice of Nigeria. All these category of people should be members, and there it should be very clear to the members that any attack on any INEC facility in the country, anywhere, henceforth, that the state where it happened will bear the brunt of the repair, and it will be taken at source from their federal allocation. I can assure you, since no governor will want to lose money, they will jump into action and involve their local government chairman. And the local government chairman will involve all the communities where INEC facilities are sited. And I can tell you that nobody will tamper with INEC facilities again.
Okay.
Because the people destroying our INEC facilities are not ghosts. They are our boys. They are thugs that we know or hired from somewhere else. So if they do this, if the president can do this, he will do himself well.
Thank you very much for calling in, Emmanuel. So, Mike, I also wanted to ask, because we have to look at it holistically, all these innovations that INEC has been, coming up with and is working at, I wonder what your opinion would be as to whether they can help insulate INEC staff from or against corruption.
Yes, absolutely. That's the beauty of, we know the role of the human agency. Today, Yori, we have beautiful electoral acts. We have INEC processes and procedures. These laws and acts or procedures are not self-executory. And that is why I'm sure that the focus of INEC now is on its implementation strategy. And that is what must involve everybody who has a role to play. The Nigerian police have just organized its own retreat, and they are doing training across the zonal command and the state command. I'm aware of that. I have also been privileged to participate in the one that was organized by Ogun State, where I also was part of. So that is already ongoing. Now, with respect to INEC, in terms of insulation of the staff from infiltration or corruption or whatever, first is the fact that today, it should be noted that at the polling unit level, it is only the youth service corps members that will operate in the 176,846 polling units.
Okay.
Please, let me just quickly inform before I proceed on this layer. It is that at the polling units today, by virtue of Section 43 of the Act, all political parties, presidential candidates, please take note of this now. And my advice is strongly for those who are holding different offices or controlling the state across the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that is that from the office of Mr. President down to the least public official, either as councillor, you cannot, under Section 43, be a party agent. You must submit to the INEC. This time around, you do not have room to go to INEC office to be fighting anymore. Through the portal.
Okay.
You are going to submit, fill a form. Your party agent must fill a form, have their photograph, and the specimen of their signature. INEC has a reason for that. I will not disclose that for you on this program. Okay. That is for you to know. Now,
Mike, I beg your pardon. I've got to interrupt, Mike. I'm so sorry. I know I'm disturbing your flow, but Mr. George Inikeja has called in. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to Mr. Igini. Uncle Yori, first of all, let me admire Mr. Igini's chambers. The outlook is very beautiful. Also, I want to thank him for his service to this country. Some of us appreciate what he did while in INEC. It was because of him we saw card reader technology and all the other digital innovations that followed. But he said something that power for electing leadership has now returned to the people. Yes, but not fully yet, Mr. Igini. There is need to go further. It is my sensing that one day you will return to INEC in one other leadership form or the other. But it suffices to say that we need to take technology further as far as INEC is concerned. If you go for your PVC registration, I see no reason why you should not collect the same day you are registered. So that this question of waiting for election to be 3 days, 2 weeks to come before everybody goes to collect PVC at the same time will not come in. And then if you have to participate in voting, the stress that goes with it now needs to be reduced or eliminated with technology. People who are going to burn INEC offices think that PVCs will be there to make sure some people in certain places are not able to vote. If the technology is improved in such a way that PVCs are not stored there, or sensitive materials are not able to prevent voting and all that, all these actions will stop. It is people who know that they cannot win elections but want to truncate it for those that can win that are doing these things.
Okay.
So I believe technology can take care of it, and the president, that is, whoever is in charge of the country and in charge of security agencies, should show us it's not enough to just condemn the criminal aspect of it. We want to see all these that have been happening, all these burnings that have been taking place. We have not seen somebody brought to book. Did they not catch someone? If they didn't catch anybody,
all right.
Was there an investigation? Didn't that investigation reveal who did it and what has happened to such people?
Okay, Mr. George, I beg your pardon for interrupting you too, but I have to do that from time to time. Now, Mike, you know,
thank you. I want to thank the last caller, and I'll quickly drive to the point he has just made. Very correct. Okay. Technology does not regress; it continues to improve, and it's going to improve in the direction. Yeah, it is true. When you go to the banks today, you want to get your ATM and all that. It doesn't take time. You see, let us be a bit patient with INEC, because from what I know, INEC is being gradual, incremental in what it's doing, because we don't have enough time to tell you a few things here. That when INEC try to do something, we also look at the area that people can come in to try to mess it up. So that's why INEC is a bit restrictive in its approach in what it's doing and all that. So Nigeria should just relax. You are going to get to the safe harbor. There's no point about that. Power have been returned to the Nigerian people. And of course, once I finish my last thought on this, I'll give you the essential feature of the current system, why power is back to the Nigerian people. So concluding my thought on the first issue is that the NYC will be charged at that level, and I've just told you that no person.
Because in answering the question as to whether innovations would insulate INEC, I was going to follow that up by asking the source, as a resident electoral commissioner, former.
Correct.
The source. Correct. I think you sort of answered part of that question, right?
Part of that. So it's part of the source. So for those who will man the polling unit, they are drawn for NYSC.
So
those
there's no way they could be party people.
Not at all. Completely. In fact, thank you for adding that to it. They are purely from NYSC. And the National Youth Service, the DG, is going to certify the list for each state, for the entire state of the federation, given to the commission to deal with. Number two, because we need to deal with previous problems where you used to have fake NYSC. Politicians used to have fake NYSC before.
Yeah.
That we have discovered in time past. At the level of the supervising presiding officer, who are the people who are going to give the ballot paper and result sheet to the presiding officer? Now, before I left, the decision of the commission was to the effect that they are going to be using INEC staff, which I, as a commissioner, since 2011, I've always had more confidence, trust on INEC staff, because I provided leadership. I showed the moral direction. I never asked the staff of INEC to do anything for anybody for 10 years that I work in INEC. So I had no problem in using the staff. Now it's now a commission policy. So at that level, it's taken care of. Okay. At the level of collation process, where you are going to have some of the colleagues from the academia and from what they call federal agencies, the rule is that, which is what I do, it is not for a federal agent to bring a list. You must bring your nominal role to INEC.
I beg your pardon, Mike. I've got to go on a break now. I apologize, these incessant interruptions. I don't have a choice, really. We'll go on a break now. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Our guest is Mike Igini, speaking from his chambers in Ikeja in Lagos here. Mazi Okoroafo, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Sir Mike Igini. You say,
Morning.
let us tell ourselves the truth. What we have discovered now in Nigeria is that this INEC, people burning, subsidizing INEC property, all those Nigerians, they are already within themselves. They know that they have failed the election. Because they have failed the election, what they have to do now is to destroy the forthcoming election. That is an in-depth knowledge, an in-depth study. I've just showed us that. Now you ask yourself, who are those people going to destroy those things? Are they not Nigerians? What caliber of Nigerians? Nigerian youth among that are doing all these things. For what? For a stipend. Now, at the end of the day, you ask yourself, upon all the talks we have been talking about, all these things are still going on. Well, what happened over the weekend is not the end, though. Whether Nigeria likes it.
That is in your Imo State.
Yes, I'm not from Imo. I'm from Abia State. Abia is different from Imo. I know that Abia was carved out from Imo State.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, but what I'm trying to put across is this. We have to sit down. The traditional rulers, the religious leaders must be part and parcel of this game. If I have my way, any local government, anything that happened in this type of magnitude, I will remove the traditional ruler. The chief security officer within that, I will remove them.
You would put that much responsibility on the traditional rulers.
Look, let me tell you, we have to take a drastic measure in this country. We cannot be doing this dilly-dally because we are doing dilly-dally, we play politics with everything. Like what Mike Igini said. Mike is saying that no one does it take to have all this Android monitoring of CCTV. Can they afford it? So what are we saying? We must first first digital monitoring of INEC offices. That is the only solution.
All right.
If you use someone to that is to set that place, adopt any scientific method of monitoring. Android monitoring of CCTV. Use it.
Okay, Mazi, I'm sorry. I've got to thank you very much for calling in, Mazi. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. And we're fast running out of time. So back to Mike Igini. Time is running out, but I still wanted to get in this question about your thoughts on whether the litigation landscape that INEC is viewing, any hope that they will indeed be able to traverse that landscape successfully without it impacting negatively the election, which is just 82 days away?
Well, it's only with respect to various court orders that normally come from the court, and Section 84, subsection 14 is very clear with respect to that. It is for judges, our colleagues in the bench, to be mindful of the kind of orders that people come to seek, particularly the idea of people coming to seek ex parte order without having to put even INEC on notice, all other necessary party on notice. But I think that as we wind down, what I think I will let people to know with respect to some of the question, the feedback on this program is that, yes, the attacks that are going on, not necessarily because, well, there are so many reasons people do so many things. And of course, attacks have never been new to INEC. The greatest shock to me, really, as a person, is that over the year, this has been the trend. You remember in 2007, that a truckload with explosive, was stationed in the front of INEC head office in Abuja.
Mm-hmm.
It's also recalled that in the preparation for the 2007 election, 2006, the ICT building was also set ablaze in Abuja. Nobody has been held responsible today. That is the greatest disgrace to our country, that the non-legitimate actors who take on the state and order.
Yes.
The presence of INEC offices in every local government.
I'm going to try and squeeze in, I beg your pardon, I'm going to try and squeeze in one last call from Uche that's coming from Nnewi. Good morning, Uche.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir. Please, quickly, make your question brief.
Good morning,
Mr. Igini.
My erudite Mike Igini. In fact, Mike Igini, I wish that, not that I'm wishing anyway, I pray that one day he will be the chairman of INEC. Because he's a man of action.
Yeah, make your question brief, Uche. I don't want to cut you off.
Okay. What I want to say is very simple. The INEC facilities that are being destroyed here and there. I mean, I don't know the reasons. Someone just called now said that if he's in position, he will sack the traditional rulers. But I don't see. You ask the question. I mean, when you want to sack somebody, did you give the person any responsibility? I don't. From the last time I checked, I have never seen any responsibility given to traditional rulers in the constitution.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right then. Well, thank you very much, Uche. Appreciate your calling in. Mike, last words in the very limited time we have.
Okay. Well, I wanted to give the essential feature of the elections. And
Go
that
ahead.
is that
Go ahead.
clearly, very many politicians, they are going to suffer what we call the dinosaur experience in 2023 on account of the new innovations and the position of the act itself. Because today, INEC is now having what we call accreditation is bimodal, no more incident form, no more proxy voting. Result collation is now a dual process. It both electronic and manual. Polling unit is now where elections are won and lost. Today, Yori, at the end of every election, a new register is produced in every polling unit, irrespective of whatever figures you have. So those who are making permutations on the basis of bankable vote of the past and all that, you are wasting your time. Number 5, today, any attempt to suppress voting in any part of Nigeria, if a candidate is from that area, either for House of Assembly, senatorial, presidential, you are going to do a great disservice to yourself. Vote suppression cannot help anybody anymore. All the talk about hacking will amount to nothing because you are going to be given what they call the hard copy. All your party agents will be given a hard copy. All parties set up a situation room, continue to do collation, but you cannot make announcements. So the shenanigans of number of registered voters versus accredited voter is all over. INEC now deal what we call accredited voters, not numbers of registered voters that are being used for rigging election, which were responsible for inconclusive election. We no longer have that. And that is why the entire 105 election, off-season and by-election conducted by INEC using the Beavers and the IREP, nobody has challenged this outcome except on the issue about whether somebody is qualified or not qualified. So all those who had the underage figures that we are seeing on the register bid, they will not be able to vote because they don't even have their biometric content in the system. Therefore, the false confidence by some people believing that without the invidious system they can do anything, they are wasting their time. So as we are going forward, it will be noted that vote will not only count, it will be taken into account. That is why there's moral panic in the land. Democracy has come. Nigerian power is back to you. Take it. Go and get your PVC. All this we are hearing about, the last word is what I draw from the Bible. You go and read Matthew 24. It is very clear that toward the end time, so to speak, which will not be able to be the end time, people will think that with what they're doing, election will not hold. Election will hold. There will be rumor, there will be fighting, there will be destruction here and there. All of that will not stop the 2023 election from holding.
Thank
2023,
you very
Nigeria
much.
has a date with 2023 election to deliver themselves. They must sing a new song.
Thank you very much, Mike Igini. Indeed, and you have delivered on our program this morning. Thank you as always. No different from what people expect when you come on. Appreciate you as always, Mike Igini, immediate past Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, joining us this morning from his chambers in Lagos here. Okay, so thank you once again, Mike. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.